Okay, so Brian Summers, he is the president of the Utah Mining Association. Again, we've known him for a long time. He advocates for responsible mining policy and economic growth across all of Utah's energy sectors. Today, he is going to discuss Utah leading in energy and critical minerals dominance.
Thank you, Curtis. Again, my name is Brian Summers. I'm the president of the Utah Mining Association. So we represent mine operators, mineral processing operations, people that work in the service side of the mining industry. We've been around since 1915, and so we're very much excited for all of the amazing things that are happening right now in our industry. I'm very grateful to be here. Thanks to Energy Fuels for this great event, and want to give a shout out to Mark and Ross and Curtis and Logan here and all the folks that make all of this magic happen that's going on here at Energy Fuels and that you're hearing about today. So today I want to give a little bit of a state and industry perspective on some of the things that are happening in the energy and critical mineral sector, and how Utah is well positioned to sort of lead on in these important areas. First of all, you should know, and if you are from Utah, you probably know this already. Utah has long been a mining state. So our first commercial mining district was actually formed in 1863. And it's actually the Bingham District, which is still our largest and most productive mining district. And so we have a very long and proud history of mining here in the state and producing the minerals that people need for their everyday lives and for our modern economy. A lot of very famous places in Utah started as mining areas and mining towns. Think places like Park City and Moab, obviously, with the uranium boom. And really, mining has helped to develop our state and also has brought a lot of diversity to our state. So, a lot of if you go to places like Price and other places, you'll end up hearing a lot of different last names and other things from the people that have come here from all over the world to work in the mining industry. We're very fortunate in Utah that we've got an incredibly diverse mineral estate. So, this is a list of some of the things that we're producing here in the state. So, a lot of hard rock. Precious metals, base metals, fuels that we use for energy production, and also a lot of industrial minerals that are used in agriculture and other industries. And mining and energy are big. They're big industries here in the state. So about almost $23 billion in combined GDP impact for the extractive and energy industries here in the state, and that's about 10% of our total state GDP. And interestingly, our industry actually accounts for about 20% of state tax revenue. So we're actually having an even larger impact on the revenue side. Almost 162,000 combined direct and indirect jobs. And importantly, mining jobs pay higher than average wages in the state. So about 51% higher than the average wage overall in the state. But if you get into especially rural counties like San Juan County here, you can see that 86% higher. You're going to make 86% more working in a mining operation than you would for the average county wage. And that holds true even in Salt Lake City. I have to admit that sometimes we go back and forth with the tech industry on this, but we're ahead right now, so we're going to take it. So I want to talk a little bit about critical minerals. Some of you that are unfortunate like me and follow these things probably know that there's a draft critical minerals list, an update to the critical minerals list. This is the current list from 2022 that has 50 critical minerals on it, including all of the rare earths that we've been talking a lot about here today. There is a draft list that's out that would actually kick off arsenic and tellurium from the current list, which, to be honest, we don't really like, but it would add a number of minerals, though, to the list, which would be helpful, including copper, lead, potash, rhenium, silicon, and silver. And so it would expand the list a little bit. But there's also other federal lists. So this is the official DOI list, but there's also a list at the Department of Energy, and there's a list at the Defense Logistics Agency. And so there's other lists that are out there which can cause some confusion on the federal side. And then also President Trump signed an executive order back in April where he also added some critical minerals to the list, including copper, gold, potash, and uranium. So you'll notice that not all of those are on the draft list. And so we do expect, though, that because the Secretary of Interior has some authority to pretty much add whatever he wants to the list, that we likely will end up with at least gold and uranium, I think, on that final list, and then some of the others we'll see what happens there. So, a lot of emphasis that's been placed on making sure that we solve some of these supply chain problems that we have right now. We are trying, so Senator Lee, who is our senior senator here in Utah, actually has a bill in Congress that would help to consolidate these lists. And so essentially, if something ends up on one federal list, it sort of ends up on all the federal lists. It's called the Critical Minerals Consistency Act. And we're hoping that that moves forward to, again, help to solve some of this confusion we have on the federal level. So I think more important than the official critical minerals list is this list that the U.S. Geological Survey puts out, and this is the minerals commodity summary. And this is actually a chart that shows our net import reliance. And so basically on this chart, blue is bad, right? Blue means that we are importing these minerals. We're reliant on foreign production for these minerals. And you can see here that there's a lot of them. We actually have 47 different mineral commodities where we're more than 50% dependent on imports, and 16 where we're 100% dependent on imports. And the leading manufacturer, the leading extractive that we have there is China, which is obviously very problematic. And if you go through the critical minerals list, these ones that are here in red, these are minerals where China has active export restrictions on minerals. And so I mean, we've heard a lot about this. There was actually some new restrictions that just came out last week where China is not only restricting the supply of the actual raw materials, but also now restricting technology that's used in processing and other in manufacturing. And so, I mean, China really does have us over a barrel here, and that's part of why it's so important for us to fix this problem. And I think that, you know, the national security implications of this are something that we have to keep at our forefront. So again, we're hearing a lot about rare earth elements today. And just to give you a sense here, I mean, 920 pounds of rare earth elements in an F-35. You know, we have an F-35 base here in Utah, 5,200 pounds in an Arleigh destroyer, 9,200 pounds in a Virginia-class submarine. So, I mean, again, just some examples on the national security front of how problematic this is. And again, these are just the rare earth elements. This doesn't include things like gallium and germanium and all of the other elements that are necessary for us to have the type of economic and national security that we have to have here in the United States. So the good news is that the federal government is finally paying attention to this in a real way. And so we've had a number of executive orders and executive actions and agency actions on the federal level to try and help begin to solve this problem. Again, the president issued an executive order back in April that calls on the National Energy Dominance Council to also be responsible for trying to fix some of our critical mineral supply chain problems. And they've been doing a great job in trying to get their heads around that, and also actually putting out some support from the federal side. We've seen accelerated permitting and other things that are happening because of the emphasis that this administration has. And this is a problem that is going to be solved here in the West. This is actually a quote from the Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum. Where are the most of the critical minerals in this country? And the rare earth minerals, most of them are in the West. The West remains a complete powerhouse of innovation, productivity, and possibility. So this again is a problem that's going to be solved in the western part of the U.S. This is where most of these minerals are found, and where again we have the opportunities to go in and produce what we need here. And again, there have been positive federal actions already in terms of moving the ball forward here. So I'm sure most of you have heard about the deal that happened with MP Materials, so a large federal investment there, both in capital investment and with offtake agreements. We actually have a mine here in San Juan County, a uranium mine that was the beneficiary of some accelerated permitting, got permitted in a very short period of time. We've seen some action up in Alaska on the Ambler Road project, which has been going back and forth for decades. And also the Perpetua Resources up in Idaho, an antimony and gold mine that also received a very large federal investment. So just a few examples of some of the things that the federal government is doing to try and solve these problems. Now, the challenge is this. So I don't know if you can see this well on the screen, but this is actually a graphic that I stole from former Senator Joe Manchin. And this is the critical minerals and materials ecosystem of the federal government. So you can see how many different parts of the federal government have some touch point with the mining industry, with critical minerals industry, with advanced manufacturing, things of that nature. And so this has actually gotten a little bit better because we do have bodies now like the Energy Dominance Council and others that are trying to streamline this a little bit, but you know, nothing gets streamlined easily with the federal government. And so trying to figure out how to get projects in front of those decision makers on a federal level has been very challenging, frankly. And you know, I'm sure you have many examples of that from Energy Fuels and other companies. that are trying to make sure that they get the right people to hear about the great projects that are happening here on the industry level. And we also have what I'm calling the Diamond Mountain problem. And so the Diamond Mountain is actually a mountain that you'll find in the northeastern part of our state, up in Uinta County. And Diamond Mountain is named that because back in the 1800s, there was a very enterprising gentleman. There was two individuals actually that decided to sell shares in a diamond mine in Uinta County. And we don't have any diamonds in Uinta County. There's no diamonds in Utah at all. But this is something that went out, and actually, the guy that founded the Bank of California, Louis Tiffany himself, I mean, very, very sophisticated people were taken in by this scheme and ended up losing a lot of money, obviously, because again, we don't have diamonds in Utah. And what we're seeing now, because there is so much emphasis on energy projects and critical mineral projects, we're also seeing people that are just pushing nonsense because they're chasing money. And that's something that, again, I think we as industry, as companies that have legitimate projects, have to make sure that, again, those federal decision makers understand what's real and what's not, so that we don't end up with another Diamond Mountain here in Utah. Um, so again, we're very fortunate in Utah. On the current list of 50 minerals, Utah actually hosts 40 of those 50 critical minerals. And again, that number will get adjusted here in the next couple of months. But we're producing a lot of them right now. You can see on this list the ones that we're producing currently, and then ones that we have the ability to expand production very quickly, including what they're doing here at Energy Fuels, already producing the neodymium and praseodymium and adding terbium and dysprosium, which is incredibly exciting. And then also opportunities, these ones that are in orange here. These are minerals where we either have known resources or we have significant historical production and could be producing again with some government support. And so, what is Utah doing to lead out on this? Well, first of all, we're one of the only states that where the legislature has asked for industry to come up with a comprehensive critical mineral strategy for the state. And that's something that we're working on as the mining association with other industry partners. And one of the big parts of this is actually to make sure that we are highlighting for the federal government and for our state leaders those projects that are the most shovel ready, that have the ability to produce minerals the most quickly, so that we can solve these problems. We've also worked over the last number of years to have a number of different tax credit programs that have been put in place for exploration, for high cost infrastructure, which includes things like building new or expanding mineral processing operations. Also great tax incentive programs around jobs, the EdTIF program that allows an incentive for the creation of new jobs. And then also with our inland port authority, we have the ability to create project areas where we can have tax increment financing and other opportunities there. And again, we're here today talking about all the amazing things that Energy Fuels is doing. I don't want to belabor the point, except to say that Energy Fuels really has the most advanced rare earth project that we see anywhere in the country right now. And that includes MP materials, it includes all the other things that probably get a little bit more notoriety. But what they've done here, and again, especially the ability to produce those heavy rare earths, is really something that sets them apart from all of the other rare earth projects that are going on here. And the fact that it's been done here with an existing permitted facility, that it's been done here with local knowledge, is really quite phenomenal. And also the ability to help to finance a lot of this on their own is quite unique in this day and time right now. So just quickly, with the few minutes that I have left, I also want to talk a little bit about what's going on the energy side. This is a really scary quote from a federal FERC commissioner talking about, the United States is heading toward a reliability crisis. I do not use the term crisis or melodrama, but because it's an accurate description of what we are facing. I think anyone would regard an increasing threat of system-wide extensive power outages as a crisis. And you can see here, this is actually a map from NERC. There's a large portion of our country that is at risk for having blackouts and brownouts, even with very minimal disruptions to the system. So even things like weather, drought, other things of that nature, not just massive natural disasters, but just normal things that we deal with on a regular basis. A large portion of the country, again, everything here that's in red or orange. I mean, the orange is something that could go into blackouts with just normal disruptions, and then the red is pretty much anything could cause it to go into disruption. And so what are we doing here in Utah? One of the things that we're trying to do is to actually protect what we already have. So Utah has a lot of great generation resources already, and we're trying to protect those. The legislature's done a great job in making sure that the electrons we're already producing stay here, and also pulling those back from other states that don't want them anymore, especially the coal electrons. We're happy to use those here in Utah. But then looking forward, making sure that we also have the ability to bring new generation resources online. So the governor has a goal with a program called Operation Gigawatt, and the goal is to double generation capacity in Utah within the next 10 years. And again, some of this will come from those existing generation resources where those electrons are allocated to the state of Utah and available for Utahns to use. But then a lot of it is going to be in technologies, energy technologies that we'll be building here, and making sure that we have a fertile ground for the types of technologies that you're hearing about today with Deep Fission and other companies. And the state has done a really great job on this. So a few things just I'll highlight before I end here. The legislature created a nuclear energy consortium, which also has make sure that they're highlighting the fuel producers and the fuel processors and refiners and enrichers, so that we have the front end of the cycle taken care of as well. We've also created electrical energy development zones, and these are zones around the state where developing nuclear energy resources will actually be easier in terms of permitting. And then the state actually has 4 active MOUs with different nuclear companies, including one that's going to be building a test reactor at the San Rafael Energy Research Center. We've got an MOU with a company that's going to hopefully be doing HALEU enrichment up at Camp Williams in Salt Lake County, and other companies that are working on the research and manufacturing and enrichment side. So I think that, again, the state's taking a very proactive stance, both in protecting what we have and in also building those new energy technologies that will help add electrons onto the system for the growth that we're expecting. So again, very grateful for what Energy Fuels is doing here and for the part that they're playing both on the energy side and the critical mineral side. Grateful to be able to represent such a wonderful industry and great companies, and thankful for all of you being here. So thank you.